You know what? We were just talking about this genuinely earlier today. So a lot of times, what as people we do is like when we don't do something, we give ourselves this, I don't do it because I like it this way. Mm-hmm. So, right, like I like this done with clients this way, mm-hmm. right? I'm not saying that this is the case, but just hear me out because this is like as mean as I can possibly be.
I can take it.
A lot of people say that. Very few actually can.
It's our first episode. I'm already crying.
Is that it's not that you so specifically have to have it like your way or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're just bad at leading people. Mm-hmm. Like that, the deficit is the thing we don't want to think about mm-hmm. because it hurts our egos.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. In many ways, I have really good skills as a leader. Mm-hmm. Right. But then come to find out that actually what it is I'm so emotionally tied into what I do.
Right.
That when other people aren't, it's like they feel as though I'm like personally attacking them.
Right.
Because I'm not attacking that like, oh, you're not doing your job the right way. I'm like, how the fuck could you treat someone like this? Like, this is a customer, like you have got to do, and like, they think that I'm being mean to them. I'm just so passionate about what I do.
Right.
But so then I have to learn like, okay, no, me saying I'm passionate about it is me giving myself this little clap like, oh, you're a good guy, James.
Right.
When really I'm just being a dick to people. Mm. That's the reality. Mm-hmm. So like, yes, you have a specific way that you want to train people, whatever. The other thing is like, you probably just don't have the skill of how to fucking lead and create other people. Mm. So you shy away from it because it's a thing you don't know how to do.
Right.
And that's really what the thing is. If you felt comfortable doing that, you wouldn't micromanage them because you know how to do it.
Right.
So you just got to learn that skill just like you learn the skill how to be a fucking coach.
Right. That was a little harsher than what I thought.
It's like, it's always the thing you're at, it's that you're terrible at that you don't want to do.
Right. And I will say, like in everything that I've done up to this point, I have always taken that role as leader, but not necessarily created other leaders.
But you're leading customers, not team members.
Well, I'm talking even like in athletics.
Got it.
Okay. So leading, teammates.
Yes.
But I see where you're coming from because I have always taken that role as leader, always loved it. I've always stepped into that just like right out of the gate.
Yeah. Talk about that in sports. Like, what was that?
Embarrassing. I was a cheer captain.
No, what's funny? People always do it because they're like, oh, it's just cheers. Like, I was a lacrosse douchebag. Like, mm-hmm. I don't know, it's the same thing, mm-hmm. but it's a sport.
Right.
And you work with a team of people.
Yes.
It's probably not a harder group of people to get all together to do something than a bunch of fucking cheerleaders.
Right.
I mean, emotional 16-year-old girls?
Right.
Like, are you fucking...
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's
I totally
tough.
agree. And I did it collegiately as well. So I was on like our Southern Illinois Go Dogs University cheer team. And I was cheer captain and then ended up being the graduate assistant coach for my master's year, which was so awesome. But I am...
How many girls are on that team?
Maybe like 30.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of personalities. A lot of... kids who are now adults as well that have a lot of a personality. And we also were going through, I don't know if like this is whatever, but we're going through Black Lives Matter at that time as well, whenever I was the graduate assistant coach.
Which is a huge divisive thing.
Huge.
Especially if you're in fucking Southern Illinois.
Exactly.
Where half the people are country as fuck and half the people are from Chicago and are city dwellers.
Right. And I'm very proud of how we handled it at the beginning because a couple of our girls were the only ones in the entire, like all of athletics that knelt. And so we had fans sprinting down from the tops of the stands.
That's awesome.
To yell at them over the railing. And it was a lot. Like we did have girls on the team that had parents that were police officers. So they felt very strongly on one side of it. And then obviously we had people that were affected by, their upbringing and felt very strongly for the Black Lives Matter movement. So it was really cool to see. And it was very cool that I got to be a part of that as a coaching figure and as a leading figure. I don't even know how we got into this subject, but it was
talking about coaching and leading people. It always the same thing.
Right. Right. And it was, I usually take on the role as mediator. That's like where I've been in like my family life and my friend life, as a coach, as a cheer captain, as a graduate assistant coach. And it was very, it was great for my growth.
So then let's power back to this.
Yes.
You need to hire somebody to oversee your online clients.
Yes.
So then I think that you're not dumb. So you probably could have done that a while ago.
Right.
You've led a group of people, so you know how to do it. So what keeps you from doing it?
I think...
And not the bullshit answer, like the real answer.
Right. I mean, I think a couple of things. I think one, financially, it's great to have...
That money.
Yes, and have all of it come my way. Yeah. And I've always had like a benchmark that, is my idea of when I would hire a coach, because I could afford it and not take a dip in my own. Yeah. But, then you get to that point and you're like, well, actually this amount is nice that I'm making.
Well, maybe a little more.
Yeah,
like a little bit more.
Yeah. So I think financially it's hard to take a step back from that income. But also the thought of giving somebody else the ropes, and probably also like somebody coming in and giving me some feedback as to what I could do better as a coach. Whenever you're bringing somebody on, they get to see everything. They get to see, right.
Yep.
And
how the hot dogs are made.
Yes. And you know what? It's not always pretty how the hot dogs are made.
It's not.
Right. So I think that probably is a part of it as well, that I do a great job surface level, but there's always things that I can do better behind the curtain. Yeah. And bringing somebody on they're the first people to see that.
Yeah. Okay. So, I think this is also where I know for me, like, again, just personal anecdote.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. As an owner of a business, you're like, yeah, you got a nut to make. Like, there's like money you've got to make, right? But I think that the money thing actually does change your perspective of it. Changes when you really have a finite, clear view about like where you want the whole thing to go.
Right.
So like this year, personally, with Peak Nutrition and Modern Warrior, I have made $250,000 negative. Mm-hmm. I've paid $250,000 this year to go to work 7 days a week.
Right.
Right. Now, to me, it's like, I don't really like view it that way, because it's like, well, this is a thing I have to do because I want to get it to here. And so that subsequent loss of whatever that is like, it doesn't really matter, because that place is so much better than making $250,000 this year.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Yep.
So then it's like, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll just ask, like, do you have a super clear vision of exactly what in 10 years this looks like, and what the business is, and who's running it and how much it's making?
Whenever we first chatted that very first time, you asked me what my 5-year plan was. And it was really eye-opening for me, because I had just reached my 5-year plan. I'd had my social media page for 5 years. I had reached a following that was making me money off of social media, making me money with online clients, changing my life. Yeah. And also had created my online business that, again, gave me financial freedom that I had never had before. And literally,
and that's what you and your fiance have together.
Right? No, this is just me. My social media, my and my online business. That's just me. We just started our own fitness brand. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Aesthetic wellness. But that was even before that had launched. So I was at a turning point in my career where it was like, what is next? What is the 5-year plan? Because you had just reached your 5-year goal. And I am now, this is where I'm kind of taking a step back and saying to myself, social media is where I want to take my business. I want to continue growing that, because I see, obviously, the incredible endless potential of social media, and how it can help me create whatever it is that I want to create with my business, whether it's, courses, books, etc. And I am just now seeing that the things that I'm currently doing are hindering that growth. So my in-person clients, the time that I spend on my online clients,
Yeah.
etc. So this is the time where I'm thinking of that. Like
Yeah.
I'm really sitting down and coming up with where I see myself in 5 years and 10 years. But I know that it means more of my time day to day. 'Cause, I mean, I work 12-hour days typically, and I love it. But sometimes 6 hours of those are training. So I know that I need to spend more time on that.
Well, but it is, I think, it's funny because now I am thinking back to that conversation we had. I do remember you saying like, well, I'm at the end of my 5-year goal. You know what I mean? Like, well, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, but even thinking about like, no, what are you going to be doing at 65 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And then like working it way backwards from there.
Right.
You know, like at some time, do you want to sell this business? Do you
Mm-hmm.
want, I mean, what does
Right.
it become?
Right.
You know, because yeah, you kind of don't want to be in a position where you're the one, because right now, this is what I've been thinking a lot about
Mm-hmm.
is like, do I own a company or do I just have a low paying job to be a CEO and I work 7 days a week? Which one
Right.
is it?
Right.
Because actually, it seems like right now, you like things are growing and they're, you know, we're doing good and stuff, but it's like, I could just get hired somewhere else
Right.
and work less and make more money.
Right.
Like genuinely a lot more money,
Right.
more than negative,
Right. 1-0.
more
Yes.
than zero,
Yes.
and have weekends
Yes.
and do stuff.
Yes.
So it's like technically right now, I just have a very low paying job.
Right.
But like what keeps it to where it's not like that is like, no, because I do have this like strategy of where it goes.
You see the potential.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that then it actually, the company becomes an asset.
Well, and I think with social media, something that I've seen, whenever I first started popping off on Instagram, which I started, I think I've told you this before, but like 2022, I think I had 4,000 followers, like January 2022. And by March, I think I had 50. And I remember getting a phone call from my mom and she's like, why don't you just quit your job and you just quit everything else? Why don't you just dive just into social media? And
Does your mom have a Southern accent? That was a
that's
little bit?
real.
Oh, is
That's
that
real. Yeah,
Oh,
she's from
okay.
Mississippi.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
So she's all excited and my whole family was. Like they're like, God, like this is
cool.
awesome. But the reality of social media is that if you don't create something that can eventually be
On its own.
sold
Yeah,
on its own, then
You're just working forever.
it's not forever. I mean, you realistically, there's going to be a point where you can't really do it anymore. Like, I mean, I guess you can be, 60 years old and still running a social media account.
Yeah.
But who wants to do that? That's exhausting. You do
gotta
it
have a
every
way to make
day.
an operation out of it.
So that's been probably the last year or so. My thought process is I need to create something that can eventually be sold.
Scale and stuff.
And not just, I have to be the face of it. Something that could be, just a business that doesn't have to be tied to me necessarily. Because, I want to retire one day.
Yeah.
I want to be done with all this one day.
See, that is kind of the difference. I don't want to retire.
Yeah, I say that, but I'll never stop working.
I don't know if that'll
Yeah,
ever happen.
yeah.
It's like, I actually remember my dad, he died at 83. And like, the 3 months before he died, he was still like working. Like he just doesn't like, I couldn't imagine a day where it's like, I just want to like not have stuff to do.
Yes.
And also, I used to make fun of guys that are like how I am now, which is like, I get sometimes I think this gets to an extreme, but I'm not like, I don't like vacations. I told you that, you were around. I went to Italy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I go there and I go to Lake Como and I'm in Milan and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. But not like faking in a joke way. It's actually just like, this is stressful. I'm not doing the thing I want to do. I'm not like, I just don't like it.
Right.
And I think there'll be a time where maybe I do, but it's like, I also like, I don't like buying nice cars. I just like doing my work.
Right.
Like I really fucking like it.
Right.
It's the only thing that really gives me, I once heard that the only reason people do anything is either for God, Wait, God, gold, or glory. So either for that
That's real.
spiritual
Mhm.
thing that you're moved by,
Right.
for money, gold,
Right.
or for glory,
Right.
right? The kind of like admiration or something that you get for it.
Right.
And like, yeah, I'm the third one. Like,
Yeah.
I just want people to be like, he's a fucking incredible CEO.
Right.
Like that is the thing that actually like fills my cup.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like I make enough money that I don't have to eat fucking instant rice and, warm or leftover chicken, but I just do.
Right.
Cause I'm like, oh, I still don't mind it.
Well, I think that one, we're very lucky, obviously, because I don't know if you experience this at all in your relationship, but like my fiance, I mean, once a month will be like, fuck, like you're doing something that you just are so passionate about, and to be around that where I'm coming home from a 12-hour day and I'm like lit the fuck up,
Excited. What does he do?
He is in sales. So like he's kind of switched up a little bit. He does right now design consulting for backyards, which is super cool because he's
That
very
is actually
creative
really
too.
cool.
He goes to multi-million-dollar houses and just draws up designs for their backyard. Very cool, but it is still, you're still working for someone else.
Mhm.
You're still on somebody else's dime. And sales is a little bit similar to, owning your own business because it is what you put in, you typically get out. But you don't get out all of it. So like what I'm doing, I get out 100% what I'm putting in.
Yeah.
And whenever you work for somebody else, you just don't. So to see that, I mean, I still enjoy my vacations though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I very much, I mean, I'm the same way. I used to make fun of my dad. He's retired and he's still working. He got another job because he's like, why would I be done?
Yeah.
And I used to make fun of him all the time. Like, you just can't sit down. And that's me now.
Yeah.
And my family just gets so, they look at me and they're like, relax a little. And I'm like, this is fun for me. Like, I'm good.
You know who I've been kind of obsessed with? Everybody knows who Alex Hormozy is, right? And I love watching his videos and stuff like that, but what I've been really transed by is lately, all of his videos are the Hormozys. It's like him and his wife and what they do together. That has been like interesting to watch to me.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see that very often where like this couple is working together and they work well together.
Yeah.
And then they have like the same like mission of what they're trying to accomplish. That's been like interesting and cool for me to see.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of that?
I haven't. No, not like the couple videos.
Yeah. Like it's just interesting because it's like counterintuitive to what I think would be a good idea.
Yeah. We my fiance and I started our aesthetic wellness, which we are very excited about. It's hard. It's really, really hard to, yes, because we have, and I think it's going to end up being great because we kind of have different mindsets around business in general. I'm very much, we gotta put in a lot of work before we make any money from this. And that's just my mindset. Like I know because I've experienced that already.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, when you were talking about working for someone else, the difference is though, like you can go in day one and make money.
Yeah, totally.
That is the difference. It's like,
Yes.
somebody else set up the systems. You go in, got to go knock down the pins.
Yes.
But when it's your own business, no, you got to build the bowling alley.
Yes.
Like, so there's a lot of like this shit before there's any reward.
Right. Exactly. And there's a lot of second guessing, obviously, because if you aren't financially stable, and I think that starting a business is, I remember a girl, I think she sent me a book about this, that is, don't quit your day job until you can afford your dream job.
Yeah.
And I think there's two types of people in the world, and I'm not that person. I need to be sinking for me to swim. I need to be 100% fully in. And there's other people that like the safety net.
Yeah.
Are you a sink?
No, I'm a burn the bridges.
Okay.
No, I'm the same. Yes, you always are going to work harder with like your back up against the wall. You know what I mean?
Right.
But also, I don't think that anybody, or very rarely, should I say, like has somebody created something really amazing while also like keeping their day job?
Right.
Like they may have built something good for them, but like, like Tesla didn't get built while he was still doing something else. Like you're going 100% on this thing.
Right.
You know, Apple, Microsoft, whatever the thing is. No, it's like 110% of your energy. You
Right.
didn't even realize it's going into one thing. And then
Yeah.
it creates something.
They don't make movies about people who are just like also accounting during the
Yeah,
day.
like itching it in a little bit. But I think that, okay. One thing that I know has been really difficult for me is there's always two types of leaders. There's like your extrovert and your introvert leader, which not always, but usually kind of look like one is like the extrovert is like the person that tells the rallying cry, gets everybody together and like motivates people and makes them want to like get that thing going, right?
Yeah.
So talking about like Apple, that was Steve Jobs, right? But then he also had a partner, Wozniak, who was just like, he was quieter, but he's also the detail guy.
Yeah.
Make sure, you know, the fucking lines are crossed, taxes are paid, things are taken care of, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And very rarely, no person is both of those people.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
One thing I've really learned is that like, so I am obviously extrovert guy.
No, no way.
You're crazy. But because I don't have a business partner, a lot of people want that. It's like, oh, it's my business and I can do it. But I'm missing a half. And I know that. Like there's a whole other piece of like ownership I would give to somebody who could come in and just see it the way I do and be the disciplined tough guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I have that in a little way with some people on my team. But
I was going to say that. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But it's like, I need to cultivate that more.
Yeah.
Because what also ends up happening is whoever you are, you hire you,
You're right. Totally.
right?
Yep.
It'd be very difficult for me. What's funny is the guy who's shooting this stuff and doing all this, Eddie, I didn't hire him. Now, we're actually like similar fun guys or whatever, but like he is a task, edit, fucking details, make it look good, put it, do you know what I mean?
Right.
He's that kind of guy.
Right.
I would have never hired somebody like that because like I want to interview somebody who's like me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
So
But I see where you're coming from with whenever I first started The Hive, which is my online community, and it started out as group.
why did you pick the Hive?
I
I actually like the name. I
Thank
do
you.
actually really like that.
Thank
That's why
you.
I'm asking.
was going to name it Hannah's Hive.
Got it.
And I just was thinking of like H words and went with, you know, and then I realized that Hannah's Hive was like a little too,
Corny.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, not perfect.
Yeah.
But I started it with a business partner because I had a coworker at the time that was me in male form. Like he was awesome. He was a go-getter and super high energy. And as we started it, we both kind of realized like we are missing a huge piece because we're bringing the exact same thing to the table. And we were missing a huge piece. So I see where you're coming from with that you need that kind of right-hand man that balances you out.
Yeah. Is that you need a lot of people that can tell you no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So like, because the truth, we have talked so much about this in our team here is like, every great big move that we've had that moved us forward was my idea. It's like this thing I came up with and it like took us from fucking 0 to 100,000 and then to 200 and then to 500,000. But every really bad decision that we've made was also me too.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm constantly like building us up and tearing us down with these like pushes and drives forward.
Right.
And you have to have that mediator person who's like, okay, I get it, James. Good idea. Slow the fuck down, right?
Right.
And
How do you think you would react to that kind of
it just
pushback?
depends on the person because
Yeah.
I do like, I've got a fucking ego and I'm an asshole. I actually don't think I'm actually an asshole. I'm actually pretty fucking nice, but I do like, Sarah is really good at just being like, hey, this isn't right that you're doing this. The problem is with her, and this isn't a shot on her, it's like in 5 years, she'll be great for that. But also she didn't really come in with like big business experience.
Right.
So everything she knows about business, I've taught her.
Right.
So then it's like, you hear it come from me and you're like, oh, well, the Lord has spoken. Yes, let's go forward.
Right. Yes.
And I need somebody else that has, business experience from somewhere else. Like I worked for Harley Davidson, and that's where a lot of where I'm informed from.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to have somebody who is, worked at Dell.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Who's just a little more nerdy or a little more process oriented, like spreadsheets. And then when I say something, it's like, that's good. How can we make it applicable?
Right. Well, yeah. And you.
Oh, and the point of why I was saying all this is about you bringing on someone else to work with is like, I have really, and you know what? I will say this, and I know for a fact you won't use it or do it because it just is too much.
Yeah.
Like, I mean it. It's like basically however much you're making.
Yeah.
Pick whatever the fuck that number is.
Yeah.
Can I spend all of that on hiring 2 other people so I make nothing?
Right.
Is like, if you did that, so let's say it's like one person to oversee all of your clients and then another person to run the operations of everything you do. You have like a thing now that you're selling. So it's like, can they pull, pack, and ship it? Can they follow up with customers? Can they do the internal things? Can they make sure the emails get sent out? Can they, all of the other like task stuff? Because it's like, those are things that actually someone else can do.
Right.
The things no one else can do, which is like your social media or creating a course, those are the only things that you should be doing. Right. If it's even distinctly almost a possibility that someone else could do it, hire immediately so you don't have to do it.
Right.
And like, but again, it is like you have to go to, oh, well, you made it here. Now you got to go back to making zero money again.
Right.
But that's the only way to go from 100 to 200.
Right.
Like doing what you're doing, you'll go from 100 to 120.
Right.
But do you want to double? Well, if you want to double, you got to do that.
Right.
There's literally no choice.
I agree. And I, as we're chatting about this, I'm kind of game planning in my mind. I'm like, okay, I guess I could. But I'm kind of going back to that right now because I'm planning a really exciting wedding.
That's the other thing. Is like, I always take out any personable stuff ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting married. You're also young and you want to fucking like do shit.
Right. But because we're planning a really exciting, stupid fucking wedding, I'm already.
Why did you call it that? A really fucking excited, stupid fucking wedding.
They're so expensive. They're so expensive. And
it's because you're making it expensive.
Absolutely. And about 3 months ago, we're like, you know what? Let's just reach out and see if we can elope instead. It was too late. It was too late. But we thought about it. We thought about it for a second there.
You're going to be glad however you put it together.
Of course. It'll be a great time. I'm going to keep saying that so when my fiance listens to this, he's like, I fucking told you we should have eloped. No, but I'm already kind of in that mindset. Like anyone who has planned a wedding before, knows you're acting like you're broke because all of your money is going towards your savings for your wedding. So I am already in that mindset. Luckily, I'm not just like every dollar that's coming in is going out. So it's doable. Yeah. It's totally doable.
It is.
And I totally agree that it is also necessary for growth, the kind of growth that I'm wanting.
Yeah. I've been really thinking about, we were talking earlier about where our company is and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's because it's comfortable for me to do things that I've done. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, of course.
For anybody.
Right.
So it's like, quite literally, let's even use you as an example. Mm-hmm. Like I'm the one making contact with you or initial contact.
Right.
And like the open thing is like, well, why am I doing that? Mm-hmm. I know that Carter, the other guy that works for me, can do that.
Right.
But it's like, I'm just still stuck in the mindset of at the very beginning, what I was telling you not to do or telling you to do is like, I'm just still doing the work rather than creating the work for others to do.
Right.
And that's just like, so I'm going to take it there. I had this business coach. And it was actually, the business coach was great. He really did help me out with a lot, but his dad, I had a lunch with a couple of times and I still remember like, I can cry thinking about this conversation is, we were talking, he's like, so, for going from 0 to $1 million in revenue is tough. Mm-hmm. Going from 10 million in revenue to 100 million in revenue is tough. Mm-hmm. But the hardest thing is to go from 1 million to 10 million.
Interesting.
That's the absolute hardest. And the reason is because when you go from 0 to 1 million, or a little more like where we're at, is you're still the guy doing the thing.
Right.
This whole business, all of it, is still James talking to customers, right? Like you can, if you bust your ass and work really hard and get a basically less than a company towards like you and a handful of people, the room out here,
Right.
you can make $1 million. If you work hard, you can just make a fucking $1 million. You can just fucking do it. But problem being, the difference is to go from 1 to 10 is you have to change who you are.
Right.
Entirely.
Right.
Like you are no longer the person who makes the sales and cuts the deal and fucking like checks on bank accounts and writes the check. Is like that shit's gone.
Right.
And it takes a different, I remember because he also asked me about like my personal relationships, and I was very blunt and honest with him about like failures that I'd had in my previous interpersonal relationships.
Yep.
And what he was saying was like, you know, in your personal relationships is what you want is this girl to be this certain person for you, right? Which is not, that's actually what most people think is like, I'm looking for this archetype for guy or girl.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep.
I'm looking for this person because that's what I like.
Right.
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 Rather than I am going to be this person, and then the person who I can be there for the most will see that, and they'll just want to be a part of what I'm doing.
Right.
So then in the same way is like what I'm doing is like what I, you know, when you're going from 0 to 1 million is like, you're finding people that like can do the thing for you. Do you know what I mean? Rather than like, I've created this amazing thing. Now let me help you make as much as you can.
Right.
And that's just an entire, like, your perspective, the whole thing's got to change. It's like, you don't work in the business at all. You are just you are the clockmaker now, right? You're not a widget in the clock. You have to be outside of the clock and you have to be tinkering with it all. So that way, when you take your hands off of it, it keeps counting forever by itself.
Interesting. So how have you, because I see in you a big part of it is your passion. You are so passionate about it that you want to be involved in all of it. So how have you seen that is for you, taking a step back? And
I haven't. I just fuck it all up.
Okay.
I know that's
so
the problem.
you're not doing it yet.
No, I'm not.
That's
It's like, I'm trying, and part of it is like, Sarah was yelling at me this morning.
Love her.
I love her. Is that it's like, what I've been doing is I've been trying to step into this role of just being the clockmaker.
Right.
Right. And so what I do is I'm like, all right, so this is how we do it, and this is how we create it, and if we do this, we're going to get here. But I'm not, how to say it like bluntly. So it's like, without talking about the specifics about it, it's kind of hard. But it's like, your goal, your mission as like in the position that I'm in has to be like genuinely caring for the people that care for the customer.
Yeah.
And so what I thought I was doing was like, okay, I'm going to push back.
Yeah.
Right? And clock make. But what I actually did was just get distant and become impersonal.
Totally. Yep.
So then it's like, okay, all right, I fucked that one up. All right. So now go back in. And now I've got to like figure out that is like, my goal is to like, I have to make leaders. And that means spending a lot of really intimate time with people, giving them the tools that I know got me to a place where I think about things like this.
Right. But that is so hard to find that balance.
It is impossible.
Literally. And I think that's a part of where I'm at as well with like hiring an assistant coach. Like it is really hard. I have gotten to such a personal level with so many of my clients. Like I have cried with them. I've laughed with them. I've celebrated their exciting moments in their life. I have been a shoulder to cry on for the, saddest times of their lives. Yeah. And to think that I am stepping away from them feels, even though I know that like I'm still here, I'm still a part of it. I'm, bringing on somebody that I fully trust with them. Right. It does still feel that way. Like I'm creating distance, and I almost feel like I'm abandoning a little bit, when in reality, you just are taking the necessary steps for your own growth, but also making sure that they're taken care of. But
for just, again, it's like looping back to the conversation we're having today is like, well, then, there's a beautiful place for you to teach this person to treat your clients that same way.
right.
But then also now you're just cutting out the training part.
Mm-hmm.
You can still go to the customer and talk to them about how their life is doing and their wins and those things like that.
True.
And then also what you're going to do is be getting feedback about how your person is doing.
Right.
Rather than talking to them, you're going to be getting feedback from the customer.
Right.
So you can still be involved with them.
Right.
It's just in a different capacity.
Yeah, that is very true. That's true.
And that helps get feedback to know how that person is doing, how they can improve.
Right. And doing more of the stuff that I love anyways, which is getting to know them on that personal level.
Yep. Yeah, I know. It's funny because we're just going through that thing here about that growth step. And I was on the phone last night and it's like getting upset with myself because it's like, I know the person that I have to be,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard to actually change deeply who you are. Like, I am a salesman and I am a fucking worker. And to think now that like that whole perspective is just gone.
Yeah.
Like now my job is got to be like creating leaders and then doing this, right? Like communicating to the world at large,
Right.
About our mission and what we do.
Right.
And it's not that I'm bad at this, but it's like, I'm not used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got to do it until it feels comfortable, I guess.
Yeah. Because whenever you start out, it's never going to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I hate to even share this with you especially, because I feel like
Get it.
you're gonna go searching for it. But I started a podcast in 2018 whenever I started my social media, and I hated listening back to it. And I had not seen, just me by myself. I'm just talking.
Yeah.
Like I should have had like a guest or someone,
Okay.
It's just me by myself.
I know what you're saying.
Right. And in general, every first thing that you do is always going to suck. Like even looking back at my old workout posts, they'll come back like, on your memories or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, people were really watching this, and liking it and like commenting on it. And in comparison to my content now, it's just, there's no comparison.
Night and fucking day. Yeah.
Right. But
How many did you do?
podcasts?
Hmm?
I don't know, like 5. Yeah.
What'd you do? You just looked right at a camera and went, what the fuck is that? What did you say?
No, I had my phone recording, right here. I wasn't recording myself doing that. It was
okay.
purely podcast. We weren't putting it on YouTube or anything.
Audio.
And it was inspirational stuff. And I think that I had potentially a future in it. Like I like doing that stuff, inspirational stuff. But I didn't give myself a chance. Like I didn't follow through with it. I listened back to my first couple and I was like, that is
Did you ever post them? You posted them.
I did. And people were like nice about it too.
Yeah.
Like people were like, I listened,
yeah.
more than just like my mom and dad. And I was so hard on myself because I was like, I'm listening back to things that I'm brand new at. I've never done this before. Of course they're going to suck. And I just didn't give myself a chance. So I think that anything that is new is going to feel uncomfortable. Even just that, like switching personas as a business owner is going to feel uncomfortable until it doesn't. Just one day you're going to be like, no, this all works and it ebbs and it flows. And obviously it's not always going to be great, but you are going to come into work and see that you taking a step back from what you were doing is working.
Yeah. I kind of think about this.
Don't go looking for my podcast, by the way.
I have to. I'm being honest. I think right now.
I know. I'm regretting sharing it. Like one I recorded like in an airport.
It would be great to put in clips of it in this video, like little like blurbs of like, "Hey guys, you gotta tap the day." Fuck, you're dumb.
I knew as soon as I said it too. I'm really regretting it. But you know what? Hey, it'll be inspirational for somebody. It'll be so inspirational.
I think about this like, are Are you into any nerdy stuff at all?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Nerdy stuff. How big of a fan of the Lord of the Rings are you?
Okay.
How scaled are you on that one? Is it a 0?
Not on the Lord of Rings
Oh,
scale.
Lord of the Rings. What are you nerdy about? You're not. You're too cool. You
No,
were like
I
hot
mean-
when you were 16, so you never got the space of like being a fucking actual loser.
I mean, I was in accounting. I feel like that's nerdy.
That's not fucking nerdy.
I like math.
Okay, so anyway, Lord of the Rings, talking about Elrond.
I feel
There's
less bad
this
about my
great-
podcast.
There is this, I think a lot of people forget this. So J.R. Tolkien, he actually is like, he's an incredible writer. Incredible writer. Like even some like silly quotes that I think that we all know, we don't realize are from him. Should know him. What is the line that it's like, not all those who wander are lost?
Yeah.
That's from The Hobbit. Like that is not like but girls
No
get it
way.
tattooed on them.
Totally.
It's this total like hipster vibe thing. Like no, that's the great Lord of the Rings at its best.
Way. I
Not
probably
all-
used that as a caption before.
Not all that shimmers is golden.
No way.
That's him.
Is that
yeah.
about the ring?
It's about like in the first book, The Hobbit. I'm really gonna dive into it is it's cool because in that world they obviously they don't have TV and movies and stuff like that. So what they do is they tell each other stories and they sing songs to each other.
Okay.
And those are like segues kind of into the next part of the book.
Okay.
And so that whole part is Gandalf like kind of inspiring Bilbo
Okay.
to like go and do this great journey. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But he really is. What's funny is like he is such an incredible writer, but because it's the Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
you're like, oh fuck, Jesus Christ.
But I mean, think how big the Lord of the Rings is. Also,
mean, it
like
is
obviously,
huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But there's this part of one of the, well, it's like, so there's the really like good guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the really fucking good looking dude in the movies?
With the white hair?
No, that's Gandalf. Ew.
No. The elf.
The 90-year-old guy? Oh,
The
no.
elf ears?
Oh, no.
You know who I'm talking. That's Orlando Bloom, isn't
That's
it?
Orlando Bloom. Yes.
Thank you.
He's very good looking.
Good looking guy.
Yes, very good looking.
Thank you.
No, the rugged, like, main dude, you probably haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm following though.
Okay. Well, he's got a bunch of different names. One of his name is Strider, but there's another human that goes with him
Mm-hmm.
who's just like not as good of a person as he is.
Okay.
He's not a leader how he is. This other guy is like great in battle and he's a warrior and like people fucking love him. And, but he also is like selfish and he gets like a little turned by the ring
Okay.
because that's what it does. It kind of like makes you want to do bad shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is just like a bigger metaphor for like the weakness of men, right? Men and women.
Right.
Is that like all we are as great as our worst habits and our like the things that we fall back to for comfort. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like as humans, just think about all the like little stupid things we do. It's like, yeah, I don't know, binge watch Netflix. Like, yeah, there's probably like people watch way too much porn. Like
Right.
just being, you know what I mean?
Yes,
'Cause it's
yes.
like, because it's this desire,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For intimacy. And then instead it's just like this kind of instant gratification that's not really sex with someone else.
Right.
It's just like it's the Oreo cookie to eating healthy.
You're right.
Yeah, there's calories, but I wouldn't say it's like nutrition.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Yep.
And what he falls to is the like weakness of wanting to be great rather than just actually being great.
Right.
And
Interesting.
that's where I feel it just being so transparent is like, I feel like I want to be great,
Yeah.
but am I really being great?
Right.
Because they're two different things.
Yeah.
They're two totally different things.
And it is.
And you can always tell somebody who is great doesn't have to talk about being great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just exude it. You
Right.
just do it, and people idolize you and look up to you because it's like, how the fuck does he do that all like that?
Right.
You know, how does she just go to work and stay positive and do these things? Is always there for people like I don't. But like, you don't have to glorify yourself. You just do those things. You just are
Right.
great.
Right. But also, as humans, we are going to feed into that glory that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Because it does feel good,
It does.
of course. But that is definitely a weakness whenever you see anybody like we watched the, oh my gosh, the Magic Johnson show on, you haven't seen this with John C. Reilly?
No idea what you're talking about. No.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. But it's about how John C. Reilly plays the owner of the Lakers and how he changes the game of basketball, like totally changes it up. And of course, Magic Johnson comes on the team. He's amazing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But his weakness is that he loves the glory. Like he comes on the team and he just totally takes, he's the shining star. And everybody on his team knows that. And everybody hates him because of it. And it ends up being the, Achilles heel of the team because he cares so much about the glory that it takes over. I'm killing this basketball metaphor.
You're killing it right now.
Thank you.
No, actually, I know exactly what you know what I think about. It's funny, another Lakers. You think about Kobe Bryant, and it's like the difference of everybody is like, yeah, are you doing all of this because you want to win, or are you doing it because you want to be great?
Right.
Right. And the people that want to be great is like, there's this video I watched about Kobe Bryant talking about how like, he's like, I don't wake up early because it's like, oh, I fucking got to wake up early. It's like, if I just wake up early, I can practice for 2 more hours than other people.
Yeah.
So then I have 7 days a week. I got 2 extra hours on everybody. I got 14 extra hours a week. Add that up over 5 years. You can't beat me.
Right.
And so then it's like,
oh yeah, you're so right.
yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Damn.
I don't know if we talked about this before, like the whole like morning person thing. I was interviewed on another podcast a few weeks ago, and I talked about how my entire life I thought people who woke up early and talked about how great it was, like they were just lying.
You're pieces of shit.
You're lying.
Fucking lying ass.
Come on, you're saying
You
that to
don't
make
like the
yourself
taste of
feel
alcohol?
better.
Yeah, you do. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you.
That was
Everybody
me.
loves a fucking glass of wine.
That's me. And my whole life up until this year, this summer, I never woke up early. All of our friends call us sleepy people. We just, we love sleeping in. And this summer, I kind of hit like a rut of my life. I had just gotten done with my bodybuilding competition. I was feeling lost in my training, and that's kind of my one piece that's like there no matter what. That's my rock. And so I felt lost kind of everywhere. And I started going to F45, and I started going at 7 a.m. And because it's F45, you pay an extra $10 if you don't make it, whatever. I loved it. I loved that I signed up the night before, and I was like, I can't miss
miss it.
I have to wake up at 6:15 in the morning. And because of it, I started realizing they were lying.
No.
They weren't full of shit after
Absolutely
all.
right.
They were totally right. And even this week, I went to a 9 a.m. instead of a 7 a.m. and my whole day was lost. I started work at noon, and that's what I was used to. Started work at 10, 11, noon some days, and I'd work until 8, 9, 10, Now I can still work until 8 at night, but I start my day at 7.
Yeah. You just have those extra 2 hours.
And it is totally life-changing to put in that extra work.
All right. I think we've got enough time today. Where are we at with that time, Bubba? 50 minutes. Oh, yeah. We're kind of
Killed it.
Call us there.
We absolutely
Dog.
killed it.
That was juicy.
Didn't even talk about social media. I really am I'm so serious about the taking a step back from the in-person clients. Also, this conversation more than just the podcast. I need to do that because this is the stuff that I want to do.
It's what you have to do.
Totally.
Because there cannot be another Hina.
Right.
There just can't be.
Right.
Right? There can be another fucking trainer.
Right.
There can be another pole pack and shit guy.
Mm-hmm.
And teach them the skills that this thing that's the thing that you have.
Right.
And you got to fucking do it all the time. Dude, go reach 100,000 people.
Right.
Do it. It's $1 million.